You're going to need the same kind of tools that you need for any kind of painting. You're going to need a palette knife, you're going to need a palette. And these tiles like this work just fine for palettes. The main tools that you're going to be using though are brushes. And brushes are one of those things where you get what you pay for. So get the good ones, get the expensive ones. It'll be worth it. Makes a huge difference. And the thing about brushes is each different kind of brush makes its own kind of marks. And since what we're doing here is making collections of marks, you need a wide variety of brushes so you can make a wide variety of marks. So you can probably get by with 3 different kinds of brushes in various sizes. First of all, you're going to need some rounds. And you're going to need some flats, or what China painters refer to as shaders. And you're going to need at least one really good liner brush. First thing we need to do before we make any marks on this tile is clean this off with some glass cleaner of some kind. They often have some grease or some dust from other tiles on them. So then to get this ready to make some marks, first thing you do is kind of prime the brush. Get it wet. And we mix a little bit of medium here with the paint on the palette. Now I tend to just put the medium down next to the color and just drag the dry powder into the medium and mix it with my brush until there aren't any little grains of China paint left over. This is the kind of mark that a round brush makes. So you can see this kind of mark would be good for petals on flowers, or actually I tend to paint almost everything with a round brush. I've been told I paint like a oil painter, not like a watercolorist, which is not surprising since I used to be an oil painter and have never been a watercolorist. So this is a flat brush, and it makes this kind of mark. And if you go sideways with it, it makes that kind of mark. A good liner brush, doesn't matter how hard you press down on this, the line won't be much thicker than it would be if you just put the tip down. So if you want to make a really straight line with a liner brush, people say, I can't draw a straight line without a ruler. Well, nobody can draw a straight line without a ruler. So in order to do this with a brush, you just need to get this ruler up high enough to get the ruler running against the ferrule of this brush. So you just need to block it up on something like this. And then you just run it along the edge of the ruler like that. This is a brush that's pretty much like a liner brush, but with a little more body to it. This is a scroller. And this brush actually happens to be a quill brush. And you can see right here, this is a little piece of the end of a feather, and it's wired on there. And many China painters really love quill brushes. So this is a scroller. This makes a mark that's very similar to a liner brush if you only put the tip down. But if you press a little bit, this will make a thicker mark. I didn't get that brush loaded quite right, but you can kind of see what kind of marks this would make. This is made for, as the name implies, doing scrolling, which I'm not good at all. This is a script brush, and this is specifically made for doing lettering. Now I'm going to switch this out to a new tile because that one's getting a little busy. But normally, if I was going to do some script with this brush, I would have transferred some script on here with graphite paper so I could just go right off over it. So then there are some brushes whose main use in China paint is playing around with the marks after you put them down. This is a stencil brush. This one, when it was new, was flat on the end. And you can actually buy these so that they're angled like this, and in that case they are referred to as a deerfoot stippler. This is another stencil brush. Again, this one was flat when I got it, and these are really valuable once you get them like this. So what you do with this, what I do with this anyway, is if I put down an area of color and I don't want those brush marks to show, I can shade them out a little bit with this. Same thing with this other smaller one. This then, another way to move this stuff around, this is a fan brush. You can make kind of a streaky effect like this. This is another brush that's kind of fun to play with. This is what's known as a whirly brush. This is really stiff bristle brush, and I use this for just dragging this paint around like this. This is really useful if you're making hair. Another kind of brush that's really fun to play with China paint is Sumi brush. These kind of brushes are completely different from other kinds of brushes. You hold them different, you make different kinds of marks. Now the other thing that's really different about Sumi painting is how you hold the brush. You don't hold the brush as you would a pencil. You hold it like this. Now to get the brush in the proper position, if you hold your hand palm up, put the brush between the tips of those two fingers and close your hand around the brush, you'll have it in the right position. The reason you hold it this way is that you get so much more range of motion than you do if you hold it like a pencil. There are 4 basic marks that a Sumi brush will make. The first is just a quick flick into the paper or the tile or whatever you're painting on. This, of course, good for bamboo leaves especially, all kinds of leaves. The harder you press on the brush, the wider the stroke gets. The second stroke is a stroke in which the tip of the brush never leaves the paper. You just press a little harder sometimes than others. This is good for making grass stems. In the third stroke, you push down, lift up a little bit, let the brush run, push down again, like this. Now you don't want to go down like this and come back and do this. You want to just press straight down like that. This is for making bamboo stems. And the last basic stroke is a stroke in which the tip of the brush just touches down and then you spin it.